Let me warn you now, this isn't just another motivational message. This isn't about changing your habits, manifesting money, or visualizing success. This is something deeper, something that might shatter everything you believe about who you are, what this life is, and what you've been chasing. And I say this with full honesty. If you're not ready, stop here. Because once you see what I'm about to show you, you can't unsee it. Think about it. Have you ever had a moment where everything felt scripted, where time blurred, and for just a second, you questioned if any of this was real? Maybe in the shower, at 2 a.m., during a heartbreak. Those rare moments of silence where the you thought you were kind of disappeared. That wasn't confusion. That was truth cracking through the illusion. And if that moment intrigued you instead of scaring you, then keep going. This is your invitation, not to escape reality, but to finally wake up inside it. We're not talking theories, we're talking direct experience. And once you cross this line, life will never look the same again. Still here? Then let's begin. You were born into a name you didn't choose, speaking a language you didn't design, living in a place you never agreed to. From the start, your self was handed to you like a pre-written role, complete with cultural lines, emotional reactions, and costume changes tailored by circumstance. And so you grew into it. You chased a better job, a more likable personality, a body more accepted. We spend years polishing the mask, mistaking it for the face beneath. We call it growth, but often it's just deeper immersion into the character. But what happens when you pause long enough to ask, who's wearing the costume? Not the name, not the gender, not the trauma, the wins, or the social media version of you. Just the quiet, constant witness. The one who's been here since before the story began. You realize the you've defended, curated, and feared losing was never actually you. It was a role, a damn convincing one, but still just a part. This isn't about abandoning life. It's about remembering you are the actor, not the act. You're not the pain, the resume, or the past. You're the conscious presence experiencing all of it. And once you see the threads, you can wear the costume with style or take it off completely. Because truth isn't something you become. It's something you remember. And it was never wearing a name tag. Long before you could choose your path, a script was already waiting. Be a good kid. Get good grades. Fit in. Achieve more. From school hallways to family dinners, from filtered Instagram feeds to late-night TV ads, the world whispered your lines, loudly, repeatedly, until they became your inner voice. But you didn't write that voice. It told you what success should look like, what beauty is, who to love, how to behave, what to fear. You didn't choose this. You inherited it. And like a diligent actor, you performed the part, thinking it was you. But pause. Who wrote those lines? And why are you still performing them? You were born with infinite potential, and yet narrowed into a single storyline. Safe, acceptable, predictable. A storyline that kept you working, scrolling, conforming, never questioning. But behind that performance is something raw, unscripted, and real. Your awareness, your authenticity, your truth. When you realize the script isn't yours, the stage starts to collapse. The lights fade. The applause doesn't matter. And in the silence, you meet yourself. Not the character, but the consciousness that's been watching all along. This isn't about rebellion. It's about reclaiming authorship. Tear up the pages. Speak in your own voice. Not to impress, not to perform. But because for once, it's finally you holding the pen. Your memories feel sacred, untouchable. They form the mosaic you point to when someone asks, "Who are you?" You answer with stories of trauma, triumph, heartbreak, and healing. But what if those stories aren't the truth? Just the mask. We cling to the past because it reinforces the character we've spent years perfecting. My trauma made me who I am. My success proves my worth. My mistakes define me. But these are just scenes, edited, cropped, and re-narrated over and over. Memory isn't a mirror. It's a movie. And you're not just the star, you're also the director, the editor, the screenwriter. Every time you recall a moment, you reshape it. A little brighter, a little darker, a little more flattering. Memory isn't evidence of your identity. It's evidence of how attached you are to the role. The truth? You're not your memories. You are the presence that remembers, the silent observer behind every scene. And when you stop gripping your past like a passport, you realize you don't need it to be whole. You don't need a dramatic backstory to be valid. You don't need a character arc to be worthy, because the real you isn't the story. The real you is the screen the movie plays on, untouched by the plot, yet aware of every frame. Let the mosaic crack. Let the mask fall. You were never the memory. You were always the light behind it. You've only ever had one experience, this moment. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, not the version of you scrolling through highlight reels or reliving old pain. Just now, just awareness, flickering in real time. Everything else? It's a theory. Your past? A string of reconstructed images. Your future? An imagined path painted by fear or desire. Even your identity, your name, your story, your personality, is an ever-updating narrative written on shifting sand. And yet we spend most of life lost in simulation mode, reacting to ghosts, chasing projections, identifying with avatars. We think we're awake because our eyes are open. But real awakening doesn't look like a lightning bolt from the sky. It's quieter, like suddenly realizing this is a dream, a real-time dream, shared by billions, driven by subconscious patterns, societal scripts, and inner fears. But once you notice, once you feel the edges flicker, you can choose something radical. To stop running from moment to moment, to stop clinging to a story you didn't write, to wake up inside the simulation and realize the dream is not the enemy. Only the sleepwalking is. And from there, the whole world softens. The stress loosens. You don't escape the dream. You just know it's a dream. And that changes everything. Not tomorrow. Not after 10 more books. Right here. Right now. That's the only place real awakening ever happens. There's a voice in your head, and it talks a lot. It narrates your day like a sports commentator who never took a breath. That was stupid. Why did they say that to me? Tomorrow I'll be better. It remembers, judges, plans, compares, and pretends to be you. But here's the twist. That voice isn't you. It's the character's script supervisor, the ego. It's not living life. It's just describing it, endlessly, often anxiously, always trying to keep the character consistent. What it can't tolerate is silence, because silence reveals what it's hiding. You, the one listening to the voice, not the story, but the awareness beneath it. The ego needs chaos, conflict, and commentary to feel real. It defines you by your pain, your goals, your status, your timeline. But listen closely, and you'll start to notice the gaps, the quiet spaces between thoughts. That's where the real you lives. Not in noise, but in stillness. You've been taught to identify with the narrator, but you're the screen, not the script, the witness, not the words. Once you see the voice as separate, as a program, not a person, you don't have to obey it. You don't have to believe every thought. You don't even have to stop it. Just see it. And in that seeing, the noise loses power. And the real you, the silence behind the sound, finally begins to speak. You think you're separate, that you're you and everyone else is not. You meet people, argue with them, fall in love with them, judge them, admire them. They seem to be entirely other. Different lives, different beliefs, different stories. But pause. Look deeper. What if every face you see is the same awareness, just wearing a different costume? Behind the personality, behind the identity, behind the quirks and defenses, there's something eerily familiar in everyone. Not their words, not their face, but the space behind it. The awareness that sees through their eyes. It's the same one looking through yours. That's not philosophy. That's direct experience when you really look. Strip away the names and stories, and every conversation becomes what it really is. Consciousness talking to itself, through different mouths, playing different roles, but all streaming from the same source. It's like one actor playing billions of parts in the same cosmic production. Some scenes are tender, some are hostile, some are absurd, but the actor never changes. When you see this, compassion becomes natural, not because you try to be kind, but because you realize there is no other. There is only the infinite cast of one, disguised, scattered, and pretending to be many. You're not a single drop in the ocean. You're the entire ocean, dressed as a drop, meeting itself again and again. Here's a simple experiment, deceptively simple. Stand in front of a mirror, look into your own eyes, and ask, who's looking? Not your name. That's just a label, not your story. That's just memory playing reruns, not your age or your face or your flaws. Those are the costume, not the actor. Just sit with the question, not intellectually, but experientially. Who or what is behind the eyes, doing the seeing? No labels, no language, just the raw, direct experience of being aware. That's the real you, not the personality, not the identity, not even the one asking the question, but the one watching the asking happen. This awareness has no age. It wasn't born and it doesn't die. It's the same now as it was when you were 5 or 15 or 50. It's what's been watching your whole life unfold, through every emotion, every high, every breakdown, unchanged, untouched. Most of us never notice it. We stare at the mirror and only see the reflection, never the seer. We see the character, but not the consciousness animating it. But once you glimpse it, even for a moment, something shifts. You stop living entirely as the mask. You begin to sense the infinite behind the form. And in that still, wordless presence, you realize, I was never the one being seen. I was the seeing itself. We spend our lives trying to break free from jobs, relationships, patterns, systems. We think freedom is somewhere outside the stage, beyond the story, past the noise. But what if real freedom isn't about escaping the play? It's about realizing it's a play. You don't have to destroy the set or throw away the script. You just have to wake up enough to remember, you're not just the character. You're the actor. You're the awareness temporarily immersed in a role. And once you remember that, everything shifts. You can laugh fully, cry deeply, love fearlessly. Not because you're lost in the emotion, but because you're awake within it. It's the difference between a lucid dream and a nightmare. Same dream, same events. But one knows it's a dream, and that knowing changes everything. You stop taking things so personally. You stop clinging to control. You can engage fully without being consumed. You're not pretending the play isn't real. You're just no longer fooled by it. That's not denial. That's liberation. It's the freedom to act without attachment, to live without fear, to love without needing anything back. When you see life as fiction, you don't become indifferent. You become free, free to dance through every scene, knowing that what you truly are was never part of the script. We spend our lives looking out there for answers. We chase gurus, retreats, books, psychedelics, anything that might show us the exit from suffering, confusion, or meaninglessness. But here's the truth. Nothing outside you can set you free. No teacher can hand you truth. No belief system can fill the silence. No peak experience can replace the presence you've been avoiding. They can only point. Like signs on a trail, they can gesture towards something, but you still have to walk it. And that path doesn't lead up a mountain or into the stars. It doesn't lead forward into a future where you're finally enlightened. It leads inward. The exit isn't outside the room. It's through the floor of your own being, through the stillness that's always been there, beneath the thoughts, beneath the pain, beneath the person you've been performing. You won't find freedom by becoming more. You'll find it by becoming less, by peeling back the layers until only awareness remains, silent, pure, unmoving. That's the great paradox. You've been looking for the door to escape the dream, but you are the door. You've just been knocking from the wrong side. No book, no trip, no savior can walk you through it. Only presence can. Not someday, right now. Close your eyes. Breathe. You're already standing at the exit. Now, step in. Some days you feel invincible. Others, like you're unraveling. Joy floods in, then anxiety, then guilt, then laughter again. It's a non-stop rotation, an emotional weather system blowing through your inner world. But here's what no one tells you. You are not the weather. You are the sky it happens in. Thoughts surge like lightning. Emotions roar like thunder. Your body ages like the seasons shifting. But none of that is you. Because if you were your thoughts, who's noticing them? If you were your feelings, who's watching them rise and pass? There is something in you that's always been still, always watching, always present. The same awareness that saw through your childhood eyes is seeing through them now. That never changed, that never moved, that never aged. Everything else is just passing clouds. Sometimes it's a storm, sometimes it's sunshine. But no matter how dark it gets, the sky has never been damaged by the storm. And once you see that, suffering loses its grip. Not because the pain disappears, but because you stop mistaking yourself for it. You don't need to fight your emotions. You just need to remember they are in you, but they are not you. So next time the storm rolls in, don't panic. Just look up. You are the sky. You've always been the sky. And the sky is never broken. If you made it this far, you didn't just watch a video. You stepped closer to waking up inside the dream. What you've just heard isn't something to agree with or memorize. It's something to sit with, to explore, to look at directly. Because once you stop chasing reality out there and finally turn inward, that's when everything starts to shift. Not because you believe something new, but because you remembered what was always true. Now it's your turn. In the comments, I want you to write, "I see the play." Let me know you're not just watching passively. You're awake, aware, and ready to see beyond the mask. If this resonated with you, hit that subscribe button and join the growing circle of truth seekers. Not everyone is ready to hear this, but if you are, you're not alone. We're here to question, to remember, to wake up together. Until next time, stay aware, stay present, and don't forget, you're the sky, not the storm. Take care, soul travelers.